What is up, guys? Level 3 of financial freedom. I call it sharpen the axe. You know, Abraham Lincoln said something along the lines of, if he had to chop a tree down, he'd spend 80% of the time sharpening the axe. I think he had a certain amount of time to, I don't know. You get the idea. Maybe you don't. Let me clarify. Sharpen the axe. It is all about investment. So, level 1, freedom from. It is easier to change your wants than it is to change your net worth. And so we focus on, let's get free from the financial restrictions that we place on ourselves of how much money we need in order to be free through contentment and frugality. And let's get free from all the narratives, the culture, the upbringing, the trauma that we have associated with money. Let's get all the lies uprooted. Level 2, heart of gold. It's about mastering yourself and being a student of the game. Get to know yourself super well. Know what's going to make you thrive, what's going to make you tank. And get to know money as well as you can. Understanding money and making money with money will always accelerate and enhance your trajectory financially faster than wage growth will. Level 3, it is all about investments. There's 3 resources that we have in this life. You've got time, you've got relationships, and you've got, of course, money. So, let me talk about all 3 of these. And I'll start maybe with money because it's the easiest. In level 3, you want to open a brokerage, all right? If you haven't already, you need to be investing money. You could throw it all in the index. You could try to swing trade. You could try to day trade. Probably stay away from options, please, unless you study that a lot in level 2. Stay away from leverage unless you study that a lot in level 2. But invest. You could pick stocks. You could buy bonds. It's not about ROI at this level. This level is about, hey, instead of buying X, invest. Instead of leaving X in the bank account, invest. We want money that's invested. And let me just clarify, you could certainly invest in other people's businesses. I would recommend publicly traded. Okay, that's kind of the investments we're talking about. Publicly traded lending, publicly traded equity. You could also invest in your own, like spend money to invest in your own business or your own side hustle. And that kind of bleeds into time a little bit as well. But financially, yeah, money that you're spending on something that's growing or at least has the potential to grow or to develop, that's what you want to be spending as many of your dollars as you can doing versus however many dollars it takes to just support your life in terms of consumption. And let me say one thing that you don't want to invest your money in, and that is, it's really more than one thing. It's brand, it is image, it is clothes, and it is like general like health and wellness. Now, let me clarify, okay? Those are amazing things to spend money on. But we've got this cool trend nowadays where we think, oh, I'm going to buy this shirt to invest in myself. I'm going to get this nice haircut to invest in myself. And it's not an investment, all right? Maybe I'm just a financial nerd, but it's not. It's wise spending if it goes to either a good haircut or alcohol. Like, okay, good decision, all right? You spent with some shrewdness. You spent money with a purpose, with a strategy. That's awesome. But it's not an investment. Same with wellness, okay? Organic groceries, all right? Great spending dollars, but I would never recommend spending more dollars than you've already decided is appropriate for you to spend in this season, just because those dollars are going to add value in some way. Of course they're going to add value. Like, we're not talking about burning dollars, like just throwing them in a fire. Like, if you spend more on something, it should be worth more. Like, of course, but that doesn't make it an investment. It's still a sunk cost. Okay, so don't invest in lifestyle, brand, image, clothes, wellness. Spend money on those things, for sure. Don't invest in those things. Invest in your businesses and other people's businesses. Let's move on to relationships. There's two types of relationships that you want to invest in at level 3. It is close peers, like real ride or die type relationships, and mentors. The more time, the more relational effort you can put in those lanes, it's gonna pay off for you. But again, this season's not about ROI. It doesn't have to be super strategic. You don't have to know what this or that person's going to be worth for you. It's about actually building up real relationships, peers, and mentors. And these are relationships of care. These are relationships that are not purely transactional. And so a type of relationship that you would maybe often hear about or be promoted to invest in is networking. And I would say that unless you're incredibly already very skilled at this, I would not recommend networking as your primary relational energy. Networking, it's purely transaction. And so it's just convenience, and it's not that real. It's not that deep. Like, if I needed someone, let's say, I really need a photographer. I'm not going to think about one time I was at a restaurant and I met this photographer. I'm just going to Google photographers, or I'm going to look up reviews, or I'm going to go to LinkedIn, or I'm going to ask my friends if they really know a photographer. Networking is so surface level that it doesn't even carry more merit than what you could just do in terms of online brand image. So don't waste a ton of time networking. But real relationships, people that really care about you, of course, emotionally, that's going to pay off immensely. But financial opportunity as well, it's going to pay off. It might not pay off a ton. It depends who your relationships are, but that's part of this season is try to invest in relationships that you think you will value and that matter to you. And mentors, seeking out mentors. And it doesn't have to be super formal. I've never had a formal mentor in my business context. I have in my years of ministry. My longtime pastor, Papa Daddy, Mitchell Welch, there was a man that met with me once a week to tune in on my spiritual and emotional health and keep me accountable to the things that he had delegated to me in work. So that's a piece of it, probably, maybe, know your pastor if you go to a church, of course. But I'm really just talking about, even if it's a loose, even if it's not super regular, super intense, and most mentors won't be, especially if they're doing it from the goodness of their heart, but it's who can I get lunch with that clearly views me as a young apple, just a student, just an up-and-comer, I'm a good young man, and they would feel some level of appreciation and gratitude in their heart to get to just invest in the next generation. As many of those people that you can just get in front of and ask them about their career and ask them about what they're passionate about and what they did and what they didn't do, those lessons are going to be invaluable, but those relationships are going to be invaluable. It's so much easier to ascend when you have relationships with people that are higher. And you don't necessarily know, again, what the payoff's going to be, but if you could choose 0 or choose 100 mentors, I would pick 100. And in level 3, you're eating that up. And then you've got time. So here's the time waster, is leisure. You do not want to invest your time in leisure. For most of us, that's media consumption. But really, it could be anything but recreational activity that is not, especially if it's not even a net positive to your body's rest and relaxation, like it's just wasting time, it's just kicking the can, you want to try to eliminate that stuff, because you want to give more time to cultivating passions and developing skills. And skills could be marketable skills that already have like a going rate. I'm going to learn to code and get this high-paying job as a result, or I'm going to learn a trade. But it could be skills that you don't necessarily know how they will be monetized, but it's still an ability. If you're spending time investing in an ability, that's amazing. And cultivating passion, another huge piece. When you're talking about what's the ceiling of how much you can earn, oftentimes it's going to be tied to how much do you care. Like Mr. Beast talks about this with his YouTube channel. He's like, he talks about being obsessive about wanting to be great at creating YouTube videos, which obviously I am not. But he is. But what he's saying is, if you don't actually love it, like, you will burn out way before this is worth it for you financially, or influence or fame or whatever it is you might be after. Like, you have to actually love it and want it. And so cultivating your wants, you might, and then of course developing skills within those wants. But even at the wants level, it's like, what do you really care about? Most of us are pretty numb, pretty apathetic to most things. So it might take some effort to say, like, I want to really care about something. Now what? And I'll save all the tips and tricks and how do you thrive in level 3, and there will be more and more videos all dedicated to level 3. And in our coaching group, of course, let's talk about it if you feel like this is the season that you're in terms of the part of the pyramid that you want to focus on. But there you have it at a high level. It's sharpen the axe. And what I mean by that is it's a season of investment. You've got 3 resources to work with. You've got time, you have relationships, and you have money. Don't stress about the ROI. The purpose is, okay, let's say you have 100 friends and you used to just do life however you want, right? And let's say you have $100. You used to just do life however you want. And let's say you got 100 minutes. You used to just do life however you want. Now, instead of just letting life happen, how many of those $100, how many of those 100 minutes, how many of those 100 relationships can you steer towards those things that I just mentioned? If it's 100 minutes, cultivating passion and developing skills. If it's 100 people, how many of them are you going to be really close with? How many of them are you going to look up to? And if it's $100, how much of that's going to go towards your own entrepreneurial endeavors or investing in public markets? And steer away from, of course, any of the deadbeat, wasted, like toxic relationships or like addictions that just eat up your time. Of course, you got to get rid of that stuff, you know? But then there's also these other kind of misfires that feel like self-actualizing. They feel like ascending, but they're actually like way overblown, and they're not worth their dollar or their minute. And those are networking, kind of general wellness and branding, and then as it relates to time, like leisure. And it's funny because like all those things, like leisure too, a lot of times we associate how financially free are you by how much leisure do you have. Like, oh man, look, I just want to sit at a beach and do nothing. If that's where you ultimately want to go, that's your prerogative. But the way you're going to get there is not by, look, I'm sitting at a beach doing nothing. I have arrived. But often we feel that way. We feel the most free. Like, we trick ourselves into thinking we're free based on how much leisure we have. But often we're actually kicking the can down the road. We're minimizing our opportunity. Similar with networking, similar with investing in yourself, aka glorified spending. Often a lot of these things you'd be better off directing as I described. All right, I've already repeated myself enough. Hopefully you get the idea. Level 3, sharpen the axe. All right, talk to y'all soon.